Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about our main characters in Grand Theft Auto 6, the details we know so far, and the backstory in which they're based off of. So we're going to go based on the Bloomberg report that came out just a couple of days ago. Remember, it said this: the game will feature a playable female protagonist for the first time. According to people familiar with the matter, the woman is Latina and will be one of a pair of leading characters in a story influenced by the bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde. And alongside that, developers are also being cautious not to punch down by making jokes about marginalized groups. So that's what we know so far, and I would say that is the best confirmed details that we have on the main characters. So let's start with the first part, and that is we're going to have a female protagonist for the first time. Technically for the first time. Grand Theft Auto 1 and Grand Theft Auto 2 had playable female main characters, and if you want to count Grand Theft Auto Online, our multiplayer protagonist, you can count that too. But other than that, we haven't had any female main characters. There have been plenty of strong female characters, not only in Grand Theft Auto, but in other Rockstar titles like Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2, but we've never seen a woman as the lead character. And then the fact that she's going to be Latina, a lot of people are saying that that's Rockstar pushing the envelope. It's really not. The GTA saga has had the most significant black lead in a video game ever, probably, in CJ, a DLC that tells the story of a gay character, Tony Prince. We've seen strong female characters like Sadie Adler. We've seen a Serbian lead character in the likes of Niko Bellic. So in my opinion, it's not pushing the envelope too far at all. So her story is going to be very interesting. And we know it's based roughly on the story of Bonnie and Clyde. So just guessing here, it looks like there's going to be two main characters, our Bonnie and our Clyde. I wonder if we're going to be able to play as them at the same time, like GTA 5, or if it'll be like Red Dead Redemption 2, where we play as one, then get to play as another, like Arthur and John Marston. Just something to think about right there. Now, let's talk about the story of Bonnie and Clyde, because I feel like this is going to give us a good idea of what to expect when GTA 6 obviously does arrive. So the story of Bonnie and Clyde is essentially the most notorious crime couple in American history. Here's some background. Clyde Champion Barrow and his companion Bonnie Parker were shot to death by officers in an ambush near Sales, Bienville Parish, Louisiana on May 23, 1934, after one of the most colorful and spectacular manhunts the nation had set up at the time. Barrow was suspected of numerous killings and wanted for murder, robbery, and state charges of kidnapping. The FBI, then called the Bureau of Investigation, became interested in Barrow and his paramour late in December 1932 through a singular bit of evidence, a Ford automobile which had been stolen in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, and was found abandoned near Jackson, Michigan in September of that year. At Pawhuska, it was learned another Ford car had been abandoned there which had been stolen in Illinois. A search of his car revealed it had been occupied by a man and a woman, indicated by abandoned articles. In this car was found a prescription bottle which led special agents to a drugstore in Texas, where investigators disclosed the woman for whom the prescription had been filled was Clyde Barrow's aunt. Further investigation revealed that the woman who obtained the prescription had been visited recently by Clyde Barrow, Bonnie Parker, and Clyde's brother, L.C. Barrow. It was also learned that these three were driving a Ford car identified as the one stolen in Illinois. It was further shown that L.C. Barrow had secured the empty prescription bottle from a son of the woman who had originally obtained it. On May 20th, 1933, the United States Commissioner at Dallas, Texas, issued a warrant against Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker, charging them with interstate transportation from Dallas to Oklahoma of the automobile stolen in Illinois. The FBI then started its hunt for this elusive pair. Now, in the early years, Bonnie and Clyde met in Texas in January 1930. At the time, Bonnie was 19 and married to an imprisoned murderer. Clyde was 21 and unmarried. Soon after, he was arrested for burglary and sent to jail. He escaped using a gun Bonnie had smuggled him, was recaptured, and sent back to prison. Clyde was paroled in February 1932, rejoined Bonnie, and resumed a life of crime. In addition to the automobile theft charge, Bonnie and Clyde were suspects in other crimes. At the time they were killed in 1934, they were believed to have committed 13 murders and several robberies and burglaries. Barrow, for example, was suspected of murdering 2 police officers at Joplin, Missouri, and kidnapping a man and a woman in rural Louisiana. He released them near Waldo, Texas. Numerous sightings followed, linking this pair with bank robberies and automobile thefts, Clyde allegedly murdered a man at Hillsborough, Texas, committed robberies at Dallas and Lufkin, and murdered one sheriff and wounded another at Stringtown, Oklahoma, kidnapped a deputy at robbery at Alabine and Sherman, Texas, committed murder at Dallas, Texas, abducted a sheriff and the chief of police at Wellington, Texas, and committed a murder at Joplin and Columbia, Missouri. Now, this is where the crime spree begins. Later in 1932, Bonnie and Clyde began traveling with Raymond Hamilton, a young gunman. Hamilton left them several months later and was replaced by William Daniel Jones in November. Ivan Buck Barrow, brother of Clyde, was released from the Texas State Penitentiary on March 23, 1933, having been granted a full pardon by the governor. He quickly joined Clyde, bringing his wife Blanche, so the group now numbered 5 persons. This gang embarked upon a series of bold robberies that made headlines across the country. They escaped capture in various encounters from the law. However, their activities made law enforcement efforts to apprehend them even more intense. During a shootout with police in Iowa on July 29, 1933, Buck Barrow was fatally wounded and Blanche was captured. Jones, who was frequently mistaken for Pretty Boy Floyd, was captured in November 1933 in Houston, Texas, by the sheriff's office. Bonnie and Clyde went on together. On November 22, 1933, a trap was set by the Dallas, Texas sheriff and his deputies in an attempt to capture Bonnie and Clyde near Grand Prairie, Texas. But the couple escaped the officer's gunfire. They held up an attorney on the highway and took his car, which they abandoned in Miami, Oklahoma. On December 21, 1933, Bonnie and Clyde held up and robbed a citizen in Shreveport, Louisiana. And on January 16, 1934, 5 prisoners, including Raymond Hamilton, were liberated from the East State Prison Farm at Waldo, Texas, by Clyde Barrow, accompanied by Bonnie Parker. 2 guards were shot by the escaping prisoners with automatic pistols, which had been previously concealed in a ditch by Barrow. As the prisoners ran, Barrow covered their retreat with bursts of machine gun fire. Among the escapees was Henry Methvin of Louisiana. Now, in their final months, Bonnie and Clyde encountered 2 young highway patrolmen near Grapevine, Texas. Before the officers could draw their guns, they were shot. On April 6, 1934, a constable at Miami, Oklahoma fell mortally wounded by Bonnie and Clyde, who also abducted a police chief, whom they wounded. The FBI had jurisdiction solely on the charges of transporting a stolen automobile. Although the activities of the Bureau agents were vigorous and ceaseless, every clue was followed. Wanted notices furnished fingerprints, photographs, description, criminal record, and other data were distributed to all officers. The agents followed the trail through many states into various haunts of the Barrow gang, particularly Louisiana. The association with Henry Methvin and the Methvin family of Louisiana was discovered by FBI agents, and they found that Bonnie and Clyde had been driving a stolen car in New Orleans. Now, on April 13, 1934, an FBI agent, through investigation in the vicinity of Ruston, Louisiana, obtained information which definitively placed Bonnie and Clyde in a remote section southwest of that community. The home of the Methvins was not far away, and the agent learned of visits there by Bonnie and Clyde. Special agents in Texas had learned that Clyde and his companion had been traveling from Texas to Louisiana, sometimes accompanied by Henry Methvin. The FBI and local law enforcement authorities in Louisiana and Texas concentrated on apprehending Bonnie and Clyde, whom they strongly believed to be in the area. It was learned that Bonnie and Clyde, with some of the Methvins, had staged a party at Black Lake, Louisiana on the night of May 21, 1934, and were due to return to the area 2 days later. And before dawn on May 23, 1934, a posse composed of police officers from Louisiana and Texas, including Texas Ranger Frank Hammer, concealed themselves in bushes along the highway near Louisiana. In the early daylight, Bonnie and Clyde appeared in an automobile, and when they attempted to drive away, the officers opened fire. Bonnie and Clyde were killed instantaneously. So that right there is the story of Bonnie and Clyde, whom our new Grand Theft Auto 6 main characters are going to be based on. Now, obviously, there's going to be some differences. This isn't going to take place in 1930s. It isn't going to take place in the Midwest United States, but there probably is going to be some similarities. A pair of lovers that might be on the run, that eventually add people to their posse, to their gang, that go on various heists, that steal automobiles, that get special agents like the FIB and police departments involved, where they have to break people out of jail, where they have to go in jail and come back out, and so on and so on. There's probably going to be a ton of similarities here. And we already know that Rockstar is a big fan of Bonnie and Clyde and their entire story, as there's a pretty famous Easter egg in GTA 5 that kind of references those two characters directly. So I'd love to hear from you guys though in those comments down below. What do you think of our main characters in GTA 6, our Latina female and Clyde partner that are going to be this sort of 1-2 punch in our new story? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Somewhere in between. Let me know what you think in those comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you guys did go on to enjoy this video though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you want to stay up to date on all the latest GTA and all the Rockstar Games videos that I'll be doing here on my channel. And be sure to ring that notification bell as well. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't work, and if you ring that bell, you'll always be guaranteed to be notified when new videos arrive. But of course, as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.